U okviru ovog okruglog stola pokušat ćemo odgovoriti na pitanje koje je otvorila rasprava 2023. godine o položaju socijaldemokracije u vremenu autoritarnih i populističkih vlada. A prisutno je i raslojavanje i cijepanje socijaldemokratskih stranki. U kom smjeru treba ići dalje? U sadašnjem trenutku socijaldemokracija je na vlasti u regiji Zapadni Balkan samo u Albaniji te u koaliciji u Bosni i Hercegovini. Politički, gospodarski, društveni i kulturni izazovi današnjice zahtijevaju da progresivne i lijeve političke snage jasno i hrabro artikuliraju novu, inovativnu i održivu dugoročnu viziju za građane, ali trenutak traži i da odmah djeluju. Ovo nije vrijeme fragmentacije. Light motiv ovogodišnje škole glasi: sve ovisi o političkoj viziji, političkom vodstvu, političkoj moralnoj hrabrosti i političkoj volji. Trebamo li dalje ostati ukopani u pesimizam današnjice ili možemo krenuti prema optimizmu i najboljem što socijaldemokracija može dati u današnjem društvu? Socijaldemokracije i naše vođe imaju tu povijesnu odgovornost. Dame i gospodo, uvodna izlaganja će dati Štefan Lofven, predsjednik PES-a, sa temom Izbori za Europski parlament, naučene lekcije i strategija za dalje. Borko Stefanović, parlamentarni zastupnik i predsjednik Odbora za spoljne poslove Narodne skupštine Srbije, potpredsjednik Stranke Slobode i Pravde Srbija. Te Zita Gurmaj, predsjednica Žena partije europskih socijalista. Ovaj izniman događaj koji okuplja vodeće socijaldemokratske političare iz cijele regije. Danas ćemo imati priliku čuti inspirativne poruke i sudjelovati u dinamičnoj debati o budućnosti socijaldemokracije. Prvo ćemo pogledati video poruku Edi Rame, predsjednika vlade Albanije, predsjednika Socijalističke partije Albanije, a zatim prelazimo na interaktivnu debatu u kojoj će sudjelovati sljedeći ugledni sudionici, svaki s 3 minute za izlaganje. S nama su Venko Filipče, predsjednik socijaldemokrata Sjeverne Makedonije, Marija Joao Rodrigues, predsjednica FEPS-a, Matjaž Nemc, potpredsjednik socijaldemokrata Slovenije, putem video veze. S nama je i Ann Lind, bivša ministrica vanjskih poslova Švedske, Erion Velijaj, gradonačelnik Tirane, Saša Magazinović, član predstavničkog doma parlamentarne skupštine Bosne i Hercegovine, te Kata Tuto, zamjenica gradonačelnika Budimpešte, članica Europskog odbora regija Mađarske. Nakon izlaganja otvorit ćemo raspravu za predsjednike i vodeće socijaldemokratske političare gdje ćemo imati priliku čuti njihove stavove i prijedloge. A moderator današnjeg događaja bit će Pia Locatelli, International Secretary PSI iz Italije, članica CEE Gender Network Boarda. A za kraj ćemo uživati u izvedbi pjesme Clandestino. Evo, možemo otvoriti prvu raspravu.
Dear progressives, it's a pleasure to greet you from afar, well, not so much far, as you gather in Korčula for this School of Progressives. But it's not an easy thing for me to address you without falling for the usual platitudes and, God forbid, boring you. Nevertheless, let me say this. For me, every school or class or space to think about politics and discuss its power to change for good or bad our lives is a very good news. Unfortunately, is also a very rare news. Just try to imagine how much efforts, funds, and emphasis have been put around the whole democratic world to boost civil society, to organize mostly boring seminars in countless venues, to encourage the big and small talk about what's wrong with governments, what's wrong with party politics, what's wrong with decision makers, and about how to counter them in all ways and forms. Just try to count how many NGOs have mushroomed in every single kilometer square of our democratic world all these years, and how much trees have been cut to produce the paper rolls for their needs. Well, I would have absolutely nothing against all this, but on the other hand, I have an ever-growing difficulty to deal with the desert that has been created when it comes to the schools of politics, while politics itself has become like a species in extinction walking through that desert. Even the very few serious political foundations that have remained around Europe have become more and more timid to help straightforward party politics, political parties, politicians in their struggle to survive that surrounding. Maybe I'm getting old, or maybe I'm completely wrong. I very much wish the latter. But I firmly believe that if this trend will not change, if the democratic world will not invest seriously in political education, and if the political parties will not be helped to have their nurseries where the youngsters will be introduced to the great force for good that politics is, and to learn how to serve their communities and countries and world through the power of politics, the not really perfect place we are today, it will become sooner more than later a very bad place. Well, just think about it. And I would be super happy if you will conclude that I am totally wrong. But if not, let's do something to have more like this school of progressives. Actually, much more. I wish you all an insightful time in Korčula, and don't forget to have some fun too. May you return to your communities with renewed energy and a clear vision for the path ahead. And please, more schools of politics for politics. Thank you.
So, Zita and Borko, it's our time to be here. I'm really happy to moderate this panel, which is a very interesting one, as all the things that Central and Eastern Europe Gender Network organizes. And this panel, which is about social democracy 3.0, between pessimism and optimism, is a sort of continuation of the panel that we started last year. So it's a second step of hopefully not a long roadmap, because we should have clear, and I think we have clear ideas. The difference between last year and this year is that last year we had elections in front of us. Now we have election behind us. Okay, good, thank you. And just a quick evaluation of these electoral appointments. If we think of European elections and at a European level, we can say that in a European Union which is going towards right, the socialists kept their position, which is good. We just lost a handful of 9 seats, so it was good. But the problem is that 7 out of the 9 missing seats is from this region. So it's a problem. As for national and local election in the region, we can say that they resulted in a non-satisfactory electoral outcome. And we have to take note of this in order to organize our future. We have already gone through our weaknesses last year and this morning, which are summarized in some words. Fragmentation. We have a sort of vocational attitude to split in our parties. We are lacking or weak in cultural cooperation. We must feed our cultural cooperation within countries and within the region. And because we have in front of us a very difficult panorama in the region. because nationalism and authoritarianism is on the rise, and secularism is on decline, even if secularism is in some constitutions a constitutional principle. And a big problem for us, Central and Eastern Europe Gender Network, there is an assault on the concept of gender, an attack to gender policies, gender equality policies, which is, so to say, the core business of our work, and we cannot allow this to happen. So keeping in mind our weaknesses, including lack of empathy, we sometimes are elitist, and we forget that ordinary people are waiting for answers, not for prayers. We have to build a program, and we have to build a bold strategy. I'm using the words of Maria Joao of last year, a bold strategy in the region on some content, keeping in mind that the transition in this region was under a neoliberal paradigm, and the consequences of this paradigm are still existing, and we have to build the bridge, fill the gap between economic integration and socialist integration, because we have to dispel the idea that social rights are negative for competitiveness. It's false, and we have to prove it. So we have to build a program, keeping in mind that we have to find the backlash about gender equality, about social integration, and another important topic, accession, enlargement. It was said that enlargement is a moral imperative. And it was also said that we have to enter EU in a group. But the problem is whose priority is enlargement? And with this question, I'm happy to give the floor to Stefan Löfven, who is the president of the Party of the European Socialists. Stefan, the floor to you. Are you online?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now,
Welcome,
thank you.
Stefan.
Thank you, and thank you for this opportunity. It is really a pleasure to be with you. I wish I could have been there in Korčula, but I can't, unfortunately. But I do want to forward the congratulations from the PES to the CE Gender Network, our PES associative member, on your 30 years anniversary. But let me also congratulate you on the 13th anniversary of the impressive Korčula School. I do think that the theme of gender equality, gender equity is a crucial one. I was proud as the Swedish Prime Minister to form the first feminist government in the world. And I did that because I had my experience from the trade union, from politics, that gender equity for me is both a moral and an ideological issue, but it is also an issue to make sure that we can form the strongest society that we want for all of us. So it's about giving floor and room for everybody, but also to make sure that we can make use of everybody's talent, engagement, and strength. Therefore, gender equality is crucial. I want to thank the Korčula think tank role because it provides an important open space for dialogue. And dialogue is very, very important in these days in shaping the answer for current challenges, but also, of course, for future challenges, so that we can champion for real, inclusive, just, equitable, and sustained progress. That's what we want to achieve. And I will get back to the social democracy 3.0. Now, this collaborative spirit that you show is a beacon of light in these days, and it's a very good opportunity for us to meet the challenges that we do meet. Now, your work has not passed by unnoticed. rather the opposite, and PES applauds your continued efforts. It is through continued dialogue, policy reform, but also, of course, collective action that gender equality can maintain its rightful place at the forefront of our political, progressive, social democratic agendas. Now, in this current international political situation, which accentuates the need for international cooperation, especially among social democrats and progressives, that we can form our policy, what we want to see change and what we want to be, what we want to do. Looking at the Russian attack on Ukraine, the war in the Middle East, some call it the mother of all conflicts, one between Israel and Palestine, the tensions in the Balkans, the complexity of interference from China and Russia. We have a multipolar world, and we have weapons of mass destruction. All these challenges need to be dealt with, and we need to be proactive. We also need to learn from the past. So for us, openness versus isolation is a very important subject. What is the answer to the future that we see? And I would like to quote Robert F. Kennedy, who once said that there are people in every time and every land who wants to stop history in its tracks. They fear the future, mistrust the present, and invoke the security of a comfortable past which, in fact, never existed. Those words, I think, visualize exactly where we are today when we meet the populists and the right-wing extremists, because that's what they put into people, fear. And with fear, you can draw the worst out of human beings, and putting people against people, nations against nations. That is the most important, perhaps, risk that we see today that we need to deal with. So for me, social democracy 3.0 is, of course, sticking to our values. We never give up the equality of all human, the equal value of all human beings. We never give up equity. We never give up solidarity. So we keep building our societies domestically with that. What we now need to do is also to be stronger in our global, European for that matter, and global cooperation. Because except for putting people against people, what the nationalists, the populists, the far-right extremists are doing right now is trying to claim that the world of development is a zero-sum game, meaning that if poorer people get better off, it affects the middle class in a negative way. If poorer countries can improve their daily lives, their living standard, it will affect the developed countries in a negative way. That is exactly what they're trying to send as a message now. We need to now show that development is about win-win. So if women increase their possibilities in a society, it's good also for men, because women can also contribute in a better way in building a society. If the developing world can increase their wealth and develop their possibilities, it's also good for the developed part of the world, because it increases the space for everyone. And if human beings in other parts of the world can develop their abilities, it's good for us as well. So going from the zero-sum game to the win-win game, and claiming again that the labor movement, social democracy and trade unions, we are a movement for freedom. We are a freedom movement, and by giving everybody the possibility in the whole world to develop its own capacity, our wealth will be a good thing for everybody. So we can stick together instead of being split. Because splitting people is the far-right extremists' weapon, And right now it works quite well. We have an increased nationalism in our world, and that is a dangerous one. We need to understand that we must cooperate, because cooperation is the only way where we can create common security, collective security, knowing that if my neighbors feel safe, I'm also safer. That is social democracy today, and it needs to be so tomorrow. So sticking to our policies, our ideologic basis, we go forward. And doing so, we will be stronger in the Western Balkans, and you have your fair share of challenges like the rest of the world, as we do in the Nordic countries, as they do in the other parts of the world. Now, social democrats, we cooperate, we stick together, we stick to our policies, our values, but we know that we have to be stronger outside our countries, reaching out to our friends with the same ambitions. And I think it's crucial, and we'll end up here, to build a world where the wealth is much, much better distributed. You know that if you count this, if you want to count to $1,000 billion, $1,000 billion, you need only 6 people. 6 people alone owns $1,000 billion. So don't tell me that we do not have the resources to do things right when it comes to climate and other things. We can do things right. But we need this international solidarity, the international cooperation to do so. And the final word, I would like to stress the importance of peace and security. We must be clear about weapons of mass destruction. It has been forgotten for a while, but we need to take up the torch again. That nuclear weapons threatening our globe daily, every hour, every breath we take, the nuclear weapons are there and can destroy our world. It is not something that we can just accept, because it is unacceptable that 9 countries can threaten the whole globe. So let us also be active now for the upcoming Summit of the Future in New York, where the General Assembly will gather. Let us be vocal here and say what we want as Social Democrats. Once again, thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for your work. And perhaps, hopefully, I can attend in Korčula next year. Thanks.
Thank you, President Löfven. We will wait for you next year. It's worth coming, really. And thank you for your interesting keynote remarks. And hope you will stay with us for the whole session. Now, I'm pleased to give the floor to Borko Stefanovic, who is a member of the Serbian Parliament, former chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Serbian Parliament, and at present Vice President of the Freedom and Justice of Serbia. Borko, 5 minutes. I will be strict on this.
Thank you. I don't know if you can hear me, yeah. Well, it will be difficult to put everything in 5 minutes, but I'll start with a little anecdote. Since we're in Korčula, this is a special place, and thank you so much for inviting me. This is a place of great tradition that goes beyond 30 years of your jubilee. I have to remind the audience. So this was the setting and actually the site of the old Korčula School. It was a place where philosophers and dissidents to Tito used to come in the 60s and 70s. And one of those young rebels was Zoran Đinđić, who was assassinated in 2003, as you know, who was also a good social democrat and a president of the Democratic Party. In those days, he was a young, spicy guy, rebel, a little bit toward the left more than usual. So he used to actually stomp into this hall from the beach in his trunks, swimming trunks, with a towel, and shouting to the people that were discussing all sorts of issues from intellectual point of view. The only thing you do is talk. You only talk. You never do anything. You don't perform. There's nothing going on. We need to make things happen. And this is a true anecdote. This was happening here. So, you know, this is completely opposite to that. And I want to stress that out. Not only because of Dasha and to great people that are here, that are organizing. You remember in Rome, we had a wonderful event in the house of Garibaldi. And I was invoking the mighty spirit of Garibaldi to look at us. So we also might call upon Zoran Đinđić's spirit to look at us, because we need it now. Why? A short assessment, I hope I can do it. Actually, right now, the Western Balkans is a completely isolated part of Europe, soft belly of Europe, of great importance, strategic importance to Europe itself. When we have a Russian aggression on Ukraine and the problems with migrations and the rise of the extreme right, Western Balkans is left to be the victim of transactional policy, the policy in which the great hypocrisy is raising its ugly head. It's not only North Macedonia, it's also Serbia. Our autocrat is selling our country left and right to the highest bidder right now as we speak. In exchange for that, we are not getting fast track to EU. Just to make things clear, we are getting him an unlimited power and complete cementing his regime. This is what we are getting as people who live, as people who have their lives and desires. This is how our people view Europe these days. A wall that is virtual with huge, long queues for kilometers of trucks and cars who cannot pass for hours. Things will get worse in November when we have the new system implemented. In the meantime, we have rigged elections twice. We have autocracy and full control of the media. We have rampant corruption. We have a lowest salary and the highest corruption in Europe. And in the same time, we have visitors from Europe who are praising European Union membership of my country, and president who is giving a lip service and saying, yes, we want to do that eventually. That eventually will never happen until and unless social democrats, as avant-garde of the resistance to this corrupt, rotten system, raise their heads and find their new soul and reinvent themselves. So I didn't come here to talk about bad situation in our region, you know it all. The same story we share with all of our colleagues from Bosnia, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Croatia and elsewhere. We simply want to say, what are the solutions? In the eye of, actually in the spirit what Zoran Đinđić said, we need to come together. First, as parties and NGOs, we need to create a gathering in the region, and we need to show to our people what is different that we are ready to do in our region, what is the future, and what is the new myth that we need to recreate. We don't have our myth. The myths of the right wings are familiar and well known. The Black International is rising high on our continent. The liberals are ready to legalize the far right. And we will see these trends happening from France elsewhere. So our answer needs to be strong fight for the social welfare Europe of equality, but also Europe of justice. In my country, people like to see the crowns in dust more than to see the full wallets. They need to see the justice being performed. An issue of identity is different than 10 years ago. It takes the primate over everything. We need to come together to form an organization in the Balkans, to get ready for Visegrad II that we need to create in the Western Balkans, to show to our people that there's a bloc, as Scandinavians did, as Visegrad Group did before us, we are ready to do it here, and to show that our track is the only track. It's not only the fast track. And also in the meantime, we need to fight for the right of the candidate countries to elect their MPs to European Parliament with the right to speak, but without the right to vote until we become the full-fledged members of European Union. These are the concrete solutions, and we will get our freedom, we will get it by ourselves, and we will, of course, take and enjoy all the support and assistance coming from you, because you are our friends, you are our comrades. But please show to us, show to our people, that the fundamentals on which we stand are the fundamentals of European left and social democracy. If we don't have values, then it's all about the money, it's all about I sell you warplanes, you give me the money, and you stay in power and do whatever you want to your citizens. This is exactly what we need to remove from our lives and from our future, and I absolutely know that we are ready and more than prepared, and it was my pleasure and honor to speak in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Borko, for the content of your speech and for almost respecting the time. Now, it's hard to resist the temptation of comment, but I will resist. Now, I'm happy to give the floor to Zita Gurmai. Zita does not need any presentation, but she is here in her position of President of PES Women. The floor to you to continue Borko's contribution.
So dear all, it's always a great privilege to be here, but of course I am also a parliamentarian, deputy leader of the tiny socialist group in the parliament, but anyway, it's also a time of reflection, how can we survive, actually, all those who are already in the European Union as well. And of course, I just would like to continue, as I have been a member of European Parliament and as an observer, Borko. I think it was a great idea, thanks for our the socialist group that time, that we could be observers for 1 year prior joining to this amazing construction. And I really would like to underline that this is the construction of the peace. And this is what we cannot forget at all. And of course, as PS Women is a type of watchdog of all the policies that we do, and of course we are in a super lucky position that we got a feminist party leader who has been a feminist prime minister, and I'm really happy to greet my feminist sister who has been also a great feminist minister of foreign affairs, Lena. We should have a clap hands for Margot Wallström and for you, and of course thanks for Stefan who made it possible, who believed that women can be much stronger if they are properly positioned. So let's have a clap hands. I think we should do it for him, because we need to engage men, of course, like that. And of course, as I have seen what happened for the last 20 years, I witnessed, I can really tell you that the S&D group and the PS really did the utmost for the last European Parliament election. We had a real fear that populists will come over. Unfortunately, they became the third group, and this is the so-called Orban policy. You know, finally, he could not succeed 5 years ago, but now he could succeed to get the third biggest group, the populists, out of, or the former ID group. But of course, we could succeed. We lost only 3 members of parliament, and the good news that we have 58 women, so we could keep the women number, and we have 3 vice presidents out of 5 of the European Parliament. And now our real challenge, you know, to break finally, and then to get a president who is in position as a woman, because this is what we could not succeed in. We paved the way for the last long years here in the region as well, but we could never succeed to get a prime minister or president or commission president who is coming from our party family, and it could really change. So that would be really the challenge for us, and this is really the output, because the problem is the following. What Orban is doing here? He's making business. He's making business with Oliver Varhelyi, who is, of course, a former ambassador of Hungary. So what we need, that's what we discussed this morning. We need somebody like Günther Verheugen. We need a social democrat who is taking care of the enlargement for the following years, and we really need to stand, because that's really the way to support you, because this is the way that we can keep you in power. And we need to do the utmost for the North Macedonian. You did a great job, but you lost. But we really need to make sure that you come back. And this is our responsibility. But you really need to find a way, you know, how to cooperate together. You don't need to love each other. EPP does not love each other. But they are there in the region when they need you. So we really need to stand firm, because blah, blah is enough. We need proper actions for the region. And I'm very thankful for Jonas, because Jonas did the utmost for the last years. Let's have a clap hands for Jonas, who really a hero of this region as well. Okay, reality. 39% women in the current parliament, which means we have less women in the parliament. Of course, we are not going to have 7 commissioners out of 27. So we will have less social democrat commissioner because my friend, former Prime Minister of Malta, who nominated a woman, Helena Dalli, by the way, she did a great job. We should also clap hands for her. He's going to nominate an excellent Minister of Health, Chris. But he's a man, which I understand. But the problem is that all those who nominated men will nominate another man, then we are not going to have women. The only chance if Slovenia nominate a woman, and we have a woman in Slovenia who could make it, and she could be excellent to Commissioner of Enlargement because she has a clue what is in the region, and you have to feel the region what to do. So let's make that, we work on that as well. What PS Women doing? So luckily I have Anna, and I have Larissa here on the board. Of course, we did a toolkit prior to the election. We really tried to warn everybody. We really made a women's rights charter. We asked everybody to sign because you need really engaged people. And these people did it. And I'm super delighted that now the chair of the Women's Rights Committee is unquestioned. It's a socialist from our party family from Spain, who is by chance, dear Maria, she is FEPS Scientific Council president. So I could go on and go on, but let me tell you, and this is the last, if you allow me, I will stand up. Because I would say that there is a person here in the room who has been a role model for us for the last long years. She has been Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and actually you give us a hope. And then I thought to bring you a little rose, which is a bag. I'm a practical woman, so we love you very much, and let's have a clap hands for Lena Hjelvallen. Voila.
So we are concluding the session of the keynote speakers, and then we will go ahead. I want to stress that from both our keynote speakers came concrete proposals. Observers, MEPs, and a commissioner for enlargement coming from our family. Being a woman. And this is a concrete attitude to say that enlargement is a priority for us. Thank you very much. Now I invite you to go to the seat and... Grazie, Zita. And now, grazie a te. And now... Oh, grazie. I need a table next time. Now I invite the other participants to the panel. So I invite to come here Venko Filipce, Maria João Rodrigues, Arion now is on Zoom, Anne Linte, Sasha Magazinovic, and here we are, if I'm not wrong. Other participants will be in Zoom. Can I remind you that you have 3 minutes for your contribution, and I know that it is hard to limit your intervention to 3 minutes, as I know all of you, and I know that you have a lot of proposals to put forward. But this is the only possibility we have to have a choral participation to the panel. So let's start with Venko. Venko is the president of the Social Democratic Union of Macedonia and former minister, but they know all of you. All of them know you.
Thank you.
So 3 minutes, and I'm sorry, I'm compelled to be strict.
Thank you. Before I go through my note, let me say thank you for this opportunity to address this very, very important meeting with our good and distinguished guests from both the region and across Europe, our partners from the United States. I think it's a great environment to figure out a way on how to proceed forward in achieving our mutual goals and our mutual aim. We are facing one specific threat. Let me just share this with you, and I will interrelate with the discussion of our friend Borko earlier today. We are facing a challenge to fight one opponent, an authoritarian regimes or far-right regimes across Europe that are willing to affect the truth, the actual truth, by using their majority or their instruments in the media. And this is something that should unite us and inspire us to find a way on how to progress forward, either by increasing our network or create network after network, and then figure out a way how to create a consensus. With the rising conservatism and the shifting of the leftist parties further away from the center, it is of great importance that the mainstream left, the one truly committed to the social democratic values, stay strong. In North Macedonia, we are facing the same challenges as other many countries. Fragmentation of the left-wing parties and the rise of far-left ideologies that ironically lean more toward the right. These shifts are attracting both attention and votes. That's why a top priority in my program as president, newly elected of the Social Democratic Union of Macedonia, is to reaffirm true social democratic values and adapt them to the needs of today's socio-economic context, not only in North Macedonia, but also across Europe and beyond. In that regard, social democratic movements in Western European countries share many similarities, yet each is tailored to meet the specific needs of their people. This is how I imagine the future of social democracy, a modern ideology shaped to serve society of its citizens. In very difficult times that we all faced in recent years, I'm proud to say that the Social Democratic Union of Macedonia has remained on the reform path, guided by social democratic principles, and has improved public services, welfare programs, and labor rights. The challenges we face today, such as growing inequality, threats to our democracies, and persistent poverty, can be tackled by drawing on the best practices of social democratic policies. Policies that are based on the principles of equality, social justice, and solidarity. SDSM has always highly valued the ideals of freedom and equality, ensuring that every citizen has the opportunity to lead a dignified life. The SDSM will lead by example. Our focus is not only on winning back voters, but more importantly, on opening the party to its members. We are committed to ensuring that party bodies and decisions are shaped by greater involvement from our members in the decision-making processes. Moreover, we are focused on real problems of the citizens, and we are offering tangible solutions to bring policies closer to the citizens. SDSM, as the only fully democratic party in North Macedonia, uphold democracy and freedom without turning to nationalism or manipulative policies that hinder progress. We've had enough of these practices. In the coming period, SDSM will work tirelessly to address the needs of workers and vulnerable groups, continuing to substantial efforts we've made in the past. By combining this approach with an efficient model for economic growth and support for businesses, we aim to achieve better outcome for everyone. This policy of protecting citizens will, I believe, be recognized and supported in contrast to the reckless capitalism proposed by the populist right-wing VMRO party. A central principle of our program is the concept of one society for all. This vision emphasizes unity, inclusiveness, and mutual respect among all citizens of North Macedonia. It stands as a rejection of division and discrimination, committing us to build a cohesive society where everyone feels valued and included. Our goal is to create a society where diversity is seen as a strength, and we all work together for the common good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Venko. And before giving the floor to Maria Joao, who is the president of the Foundation for European Progressive Study, I have to inform that Matthias Nemeth had to leave. He would like to apologize, but something unexpected happened, so he had to leave. And so I informed those who was in charge of technicalities that after Maria Joao, we will be in connection with Erion Beliai, because he will be on Zoom connection. So I hope you are ready for the connection after Maria Joao contribution. Maria, the floor to you. And again, I need you to be...
Pia, great pleasure to join all of you here in person. I've been here in the screen, but now really a pleasure to be in person. And the topic for today is about social democracy 3.0. Look, we need to ask, first of all, why we do need social democrats. And from my viewpoint, this is very simple. What are the main aspirations of all people? They are about empowerment and protection. These two things, we are sure that everybody wants, empowerment and protection. And we are the ones who can provide this empowerment and protection. This is not something which can be delivered by conservatives. They are always too little, too late, and they undermine both empowerment and protection. And if we think about the new far-right family raising, well, they are not at all about empowerment, and when it comes protection, they come with a very big illusion, is that protection can just be provided behind national borders. But then we should ask, what should be social democrats today? Well, and you used to say that in our DNA, we have three main values: freedom, equality, solidarity, for a very simple reason, because we understood from a long time ago that the only way to make sure that we have equality in a free society is by providing stronger solidarity. This is the key idea of social democracy. Nevertheless, I would argue that we need to conduct a certain update, so social democracy 3.0. We need to add a new word, which is sustainability, our connection with the planet, with the future generations. This is a key word for our doctrine. And when it comes to democracy, we need to have a much more inclusive way to understand democracy. So my last point is exactly about the how. The why, the what, and the how. And the how is exactly about how we understand democracy. Because we need to be much more inclusive, really to address all people's needs, concerns. And right now, there is a lot of work to be done, because this is about working conditions, living conditions, but also the climate, but also what is happening in the digital transformation. So we have new causes, and we need also to make sure that we are updating our program. And then there is a last difficulty we need really to tackle, and all of you have referred to this, is how can we really reach out people? Because the current circumstances are completely different, if we want to have an inclusive democracy, the first thing we need to make sure is gender equality. Women are half of humankind. So there is no possibility to have inclusive democracy without full equal opportunities. But then we have also an issue with the way really we communicate, and media is the fourth power. We really need to understand what is going on with the fourth power. And we need to create new solutions for media as the infrastructure of democracy. And my last point is about Europe. Because if you want to protect people and empower people, we can no longer act at local and national level. We need to coordinate ourselves at European level. So I really believe that Western Balkans will be an active actor of the European project, not starting in 5 years or 6 years when the membership finally takes place. No, starting from now. We need to involve you in all our internal discussions about shaping the European Union. This is my wish.
Thank you. You were almost there, 4 minutes 30, which is good. Now, are we ready for the connection with...
I'm ready.
Good. So we're ready. I remind you that you have 3 minutes. Okay.
Thank you, and thanks for having me from afar. Hopefully, next time I can join you in person in Korčula. But I was reflecting this morning as we're all here in Prague at Globsec, and Ursula von der Leyen, which happens to be our political opponent, announced that she will appoint a commissioner on defense, since now the issues of security have become so pertinent. It made me think, why was this not a socialist idea? Why don't we look at some issues that the right has, I think, unrighteously adopted as their own, that we are afraid. One of them is the issue of security. And whether it's the left and right in America or left and right in Europe, somehow the right is tough on crime and very big in law and order. And who decided that this is the right issue? Because I think some people from us, got carried away, started to defund the police and the uniforms are bad. But we have to understand that we live in a time of polycrisis, where things are out of hand in terms of international security with the aggression of Russia and Ukraine, but also a lot of the fear and a lot of the stigma that goes with waves of immigration, with cities becoming more cosmopolitan spaces. And how come some of the stuff that we were very good at have now been adopted by opponents, where we could easily articulate even better the issues of public order, the issues of security, the issues, especially in a world that is traumatized from the recent events. So I think as we try to move ahead with social democratic values 3.0, we need to have a few things in consideration. What are some top issues on the agenda of people today? I think, as much as it sounds very sexy, the issue of climate change, we've been terrible in articulating it. Because, the average Joe doesn't understand, never been to Antarctica and realize what happens with the ice. Only goes once a year in the beach, that, if it's going to be 20 centimeters higher in a decade, doesn't mean anything. But when it comes to urban areas, when you see sort of flash floods, when you see hail, when you see what happens, with our recent earthquake, when you see a lot of the challenges that has plagued urban space, then you can see why socialist values are important. Because only in a country run by socialists, like we have in Albania and Tirana, does the government take care of your home and take care of your house when the earthquake takes it down. When the floods takes it away, it is a socialist government that does not leave you out to dry and give you some emergency shelter, but make sure you have a home. So I think we need to translate things better in a way that people understand and move away from conferences and seminars and meet people in the ground and articulate to them. We need to understand in the Western Balkans that communism, fell 34 years ago. Being dragged in those debates, half of the population of Albania is younger than 34. So it has no recollection and no linkage with its system. So how do we upgrade our conversation? How do we talk to the Gen Z and to the people who were born even after the last war, Serbia and Kosovo? So in that regard, we need to upgrade our conversation. We need to make it simple for people to understand, and we need to organize. And some people may say, well, look, we're not going to copy the playbook of the people who rule Hungary and Serbia. Well, not the playbook of ideology, but the fact that there's a capillary level of communication is something that we also do. That is not left and right. That is making sure there's a party organization that in every building has a socialist spokesperson. In every building, there's a contact point to tell me as the socialist mayor and the head of the Socialist Party of Tirana, or to tell Edi Rama as the socialist party head of Albania, what is going on in each neighborhood and how a socialist member is a key contact to get in the community to articulate. And last but not least, you don't have to be in government to exercise some of the changes. We made a personal rule, a party rule for ourselves that our list for city councils will be 50-50. There doesn't need to be a law. It is our choice to send this 50-50. One woman, one man, one woman, one man, in this order, and not pack the women all the way to the bottom where they cannot win. So you put this 50-50 at the winning tables for councils. You put this regulations like we have in the city council that didn't have us in power. 30% are under 30 in our city council list. So that's how they can vote, and they can propose for free transport for students in Tirana, for half discount for all the dormitories that the city runs, and a lot of other facilities like, mobility, student cards, and whatnot. So rather than say, why don't young people get involved, we should make sure that we have room and we have spaces in our list for young people to actually have real power, not to be the garniture behind us giving speeches in a Congress hall, but to actually be in the city councils, to be in parliament. And I think once we put our money, our investments where our mouth is, as city leaders, as government leaders, as commune leaders, as party leaders, and then they can see that our speeches match our realities, that's how we can actually make a difference. I run a city that was constantly 50-50. And, 1 decade from the left, 1 decade from the right, and so on and so forth. And the country of Albania, we were in opposition for some very painful years. We even had people assassinated in our demonstrations. And the fact that this organization and this upgrade of communication, but also the capillary contact with people, matched with decisions that we already made in opposition, can make a big difference. So I am, and I'm happy to reach out to any of our party members that needs help and needs support. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the contribution. And now I'm twice happy to give the floor to Ann Linde, who is the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Swedish government. And I'm happy you're here.
Thank you very much, Pia. When I was asked to be in this panel about social democracy 3.0, I thought, what should I talk about? And I actually had 3 proposals. And after the discussion this morning and the discussion we had during lunch, not the least with Veko, I threw them away and said, I should say something completely different. I could say, yes, absolutely. I mean, I will not speak about democracy. I will not speak about a huge social democratic welfare reform to lead the digitalization in Europe. And I will not speak about the analysis and what we did wrong and right in the EU election. Instead, I will tell you about what we did in Sweden in our party when we lost the election, because I felt like that is something that maybe could be of relevance here. I mean, my party, the Social Democratic Party of Sweden, is the biggest party, social democratic party in the world. We have roughly 35%. We have an extremely popular party leader. She was the first woman prime minister in our country. And still, we are not in government. We lost the election with 0.3%. And what happened? What happened was that the Liberal Party broke the taboo together with the conservative and Christian Democrat and started to work together with the extreme right. And that is what we can see now in other countries, like in the Netherlands. Who would believe Mark Rutte will work together with Geert Wilders? What will happen now when AfD in Germany is so big that they might form coalitions with other parties, when the normal parties, especially liberal parties, throw away the taboo for extreme rights just to gain power? And what's happening is that now in Sweden, the tail is wagging the dog. Everybody thought, well, if we give responsibility to the extreme right, they will be responsible. No, they were not responsible. What has happened is that they are wagging the dog. They are deciding what the government should do, because otherwise they won't get their votes. So that was a terrible thing. And what the new government, the first decision my successor took in October 22, when I and the government left, was to abolish the feminist foreign policy. That was the #1 decision, because that, of course, is dangerous to have a feminist foreign policy. They skipped the drive for democracy, where we also had trade union rights as example. And they took away all decisions about climate and security together. All those things that are what we really like. So what we did, just very quickly, we licked our wounds and then we said, get to work. We are in opposition. We formed 11 working groups with a new generation. They had 2 tasks. 1, analyze the situation through all holy cows overboard. They presented their analysis, and number 2 was presented yesterday. 200 concrete proposals on what social democracy should do in the future, because you never win election on what you have done. You only win election on what you should do. And with these 11 working groups, with mainly new generation of social democrats, we now have 200 concrete proposals that will be presented and voted on our Congress. I think that is a good idea for renewing social democracy, not falling down in the rabbit hole because you lost the election, even if it was small, and also to bring energy and joy. I was in Chicago, so joy is the new catchword. So that is what I think is a way forward for social democracy who needs to have a new energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. And then let's keep our finger crossed for US elections, presidential elections. Now, let's go ahead with Sasha Magazinovic.
Yes, you have right.
There is something.
Is it working? Yes. Okay. Dear Dasha, first of all, to thank you for the opportunity to speak my mother language. But before that, I want to congratulate you first, 30 years. And okay, I will switch to Bosnian. Ja sam bio dijete, možda sam imao 20-ak godina kada sam sticajem okolnosti dobio svog prvog vozača. I to je bio stari jedan čovjek koji je vozio još u vrijeme socijalizma, čak je bio vozač predsjednika Bosne i Hercegovine. I on je stalno ponavljao 2 stvari. Jedna koja ima veze s ovim s čim mi pričamo, druga koja nema. Ta koja nema veze s ovim o čemu mi danas govorimo je, on je stalno ponavljao, dok te ja vozim nikad nećeš doći na vrijeme, jer funkcioneri ne dolaze na vrijeme na sastanke. A ono što ima veze s ovim što danas pričamo je da je stalno ponavljao da se problem najbolje rješava tako da se suočiš sa njim i priznaš da imaš problem. A to je stalno ponavljao. I meni je to tad zvučalo ne tako revolucionarno. Međutim, kasnije sam puno puta u životu vidio da je u stvari to najjednostavniji recept za rješavanje problema. Ja zapravo mislim da sama potreba za onim što zovemo socijaldemokratija 3.0 govori da imamo problem. I da bi za početak bilo dobro da se suočimo sa njim. Ja znam da nikad nastavak filma nije bio dobar kao onaj prvi dio, zato bi volio da ovo ne smatramo kao nastavak, nego kao neki potrebni upgrade, ali u svakom slučaju smatram da bi glavni alat za ono što mi želimo da uradim trebalo biti ogledalo. Dakle, mi se trebamo pogledati u ogledalo. I problem iz mog ugla gledanja s ovim iskustvom koje imam nije u našem političkom protivniku, nije u društvenim okolnostima, nego isključivo u nama. Bilo je jedno pitanje da li je naš rezultat na izborima rezultat stanja u društvu ili je to rezultat našeg slabog rada. Mi smo skloni reći da je to rezultat stanja u društvu, a ja se s tim ne slažem. Ja mislim da je to rezultat našeg slabog rada ili nerada. I evo 3 minute. Kad prije? Ovo ide jako brzo. Ok, samo još 2-3 rečenice. Dakle, dobro, mi smo navikli u parlamentu da dugo govorimo. Ok, 15 sekundi. Dakle, ako priznamo sami sebe da nekad ne radimo dovoljno, da ne razgovaramo dovoljno, da ne planiramo dovoljno, da ne slušamo jedni druge, i ako te stvari promijenimo, ja mislim da je to više nego dobar početak da ova verzija 3.0 bude mnogo, mnogo bolja od ove za koju smo se već složili da nije ok i da je treba updateovati. Ono što želim na kraju reći je da sam ja optimista, jer sve ovo što smatram da treba uraditi je mnogo lakše nego što izgleda. Moramo se samo malo vratiti svojim korijenima i biti ono što smo nekad bili, malo više prije svega drugovi jedni sa drugima, a onda sve ide lakše. Hvala vam.
Thank you, Sasha. I apologize because I didn't introduce you properly. Sasha Magazinovic is a member of the House of the Representative of the Parliamentary Assembly of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Sorry for that. Now, let's give the floor to, and I think it should be now a Zoom connection, to Kata Tutel, who is the Deputy Mayor of Budapest and member of the European Committee of the Region, Hungary. Now, Kata, you're there, good.
Yes, thank you very much, Dasha, for the introduction and for inviting me to this session. I usually come here online, and until my children are small, I think I will be online in the next years, but maybe, it's school time on Monday, so sorry for not coming. I know I have 3 minutes. I'm a local politician. I'm in politics for many years. I've always been a local politician, and I will remain one, because this is the politics I like to do in Budapest. And this is what I do in the Committee of the Regions, make things done. And when we talk about the future of social democracy, this is what I hold on to. I come from a very difficult country, Hungary. It's really hard to hold on to things. It's really, as a social democrat, it's really hard to see the future in an optimistic lens. So what do? We govern Budapest, and we could keep Budapest, which is sort of a miracle in Hungary. And what we hold on to is that what we are doing is a progressive city leadership, which is very, very different from what the governing party is doing, what Viktor Orban is doing. We have a social democratic green agenda. We're not just talking about these things, but we're actually doing it. It's very hard. It needs a lot of effort, but it is about that we don't deny that everything is changing. People don't like change. Citizens don't like change. They don't like change when it comes too fast, too many fields, but this is the reality. And facing this reality is hard. So what we do, we actually show our citizens that the change is real. We have to change the way we live, the way our cities are built, the way we work, education, healthcare, climate, everything is changing. Technology is changing, but we have to embrace this change. And our role as local leaders is to give protection. So change is coming, but it shouldn't just change everything on its own. And this change shouldn't be led by capital and global capital. Our role as local leaders and national leaders and European leaders is to mitigate, is to help people with this change, is to create and cut a secure path that most of our citizens can take in the change. And what I always hold on to in Hungary, that we transform our cities, not just in Hungary, Budapest, but in all other European cities, which I follow. We usually do very, very similar things all across Europe, that our citizens like how it ends. So when we do the transformation with a lot of conflicts, transforming public spaces, mobility, housing, the way we use our cities, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of change, a lot of adaptation. But in the end, our citizens would never want to return to the point where we started. And I think that's the great thing. And this is the thing that I hold on to. And when we think about the future of social democracy, we should not leave out the role of cities and regions, local leaders, because if you're looking for a school of democracy, the local level, it is a very important school in politics and in a very important reserve of democracy. Thank you. I'll stop here.
Thank you. Thank you, Kata. You have been the most disciplined of the group as for time. Now, we have 35 minutes for open discussion from the audience, and I think we need the cooperation of somebody in order to pass the micro. Any volunteers for that?
Nataša Milojević, Beograd, Fozdi, zdravo svima, dobar dan. Hello everybody, dear comrades, and congratulations to all of us for 13 years of Korčula School and 30 to Dasha and the others for Gender Network. Saša, to je bilo najznačajnije, ja mislim, danas što si rekao, a to je da mi socijaldemokrate i snage progresivne moramo da se pogledamo u ogledalo, da je to najznačajniji alat, ne zbog lepote, jer to se podrazumeva, nego zbog toga što moramo da napravimo jednu ozbiljnu introspekciju i inspekciju svega onoga što nismo uradili. 200 predloga za promene, odnosno šta bi trebalo uraditi, je druga najznačajnija stvar danas. Dakle, predloga ima, verovatno nisu podjednako dobri svih 200 predloga ili nisu podjednako realistični, ali ih ima. Treće, malo pre sam razgovarala sa Martom, mislim da je naš pokret ne samo u ozbiljnoj krizi, nego pred ozbiljnim izazovom, jer nije ponudio odgovore. Još uvek samo postavlja pitanja. Ajmo da ponudimo odgovore. Ima ih dosta. Jedan od mogućih odgovora je kako će izgledati Evropska komisija od danas. Danas je bio rok za kandidate. Šta mislite o tome? Hvala.
Okay, we have another question from Hungary.
Hello, I'm Marta Boniferd, board member of the Sea Gender Network, and I was there when it was established. I liked very much what Anna Lind was talking about, instead of licking the wound, but including the future generation. And I have a question to all the distinguished speakers. What have you done with the younger generation? Because they are our future, and the younger generation is not that much interested in politics. How did you encourage them? How did you pick up the subjects that are important for them? And I'm very much interested that whether at regional level, whether at European level, whether at national level, what have you done? Because I would be very much interested 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 20 years' time, whether we are able to re-establish the social democratic norms for the future of politicians.
Can I add, can I complete the question of Marta to Anna Lind? Anna, out of these 200 proposals from the young people you involved, tell us at least 3, please. Okay, let's start with Anna Maria.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Well, there were some very big reform proposals. One is to reduce working hour from 40 to 35 hours per week, and it should take 10 years with a gradual reduction. And this is, I think it's very good, because the right-wing parties went bananas and said that Sweden will go into a poor third world country if we do like this. And this is something that is interesting. Second, migration and integration were the most proposal on these issues. For example, to get away with the deprived areas by not agreeing to let asylum seekers and immigrants live where they want. Because that means that all of them move to the same areas, creating kind of ghettos, and creating a lot of problems, a lot of criminality, and also to change and get more mixed areas. For example, by using what you could say busing to get students from, or pupils from a deprived area to a more affluent area, and so on and so forth. Many areas of this. And then also there was proposals on how are we going to reach the young men. And here are some proposals I don't like at all, but we could see in our analysis of the election that many young men left us for the extreme right, because they think that the extreme rights are the answer to their problems. If only women and young women vote in Sweden, we would have won by a landslide. And the men, and especially young men, they think that the analysis of society is right by the extreme right. And how do we reach them without compromising with our values? And here I have to say we have to beware, because some people in my own party says that maybe have we talked a little bit too much about feminism. Maybe we should not mention feminism anymore. And also our opinion pollsters, they see now that in our party, fewer people are saying that they are feminists. Not the case in the Green Party, not the case in the Left Party. And instead of fighting and say, we need to take back feminism as a priority, as something that we are proud of our feminist foreign policy, then you get a little bit scared and say, okay, maybe we should not talk so much about feminists. Wrong. But this will be a lot of discussion, because now we have all the tables on the floor, and we will discuss them. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the floor to Maria. Maria Joao.
Well, many thanks for these two questions. On the concerns of young people, we, FEPS, as the European Political Foundation, together with our member foundations across Europe, we pay a lot of attention to this, to understand what is happening with the young people across Europe. And basically, our conclusions are the following. It is wrong to assume that young people don't care about political decisions. They do care. But they are keen to be more focused on specific causes. Joining parties is something more problematic for them. But they are very active around specific causes. So we need to adapt our political work to this new reality of how to engage and motivate young people. Then the second conclusion is that working conditions, access to not only good jobs, but meaningful jobs, remains a core concern for them, for sure. So this is part of our DNA. Nevertheless, they are very much also concerned with other things. Now, housing is becoming a hot topic across Europe. This is something where we, Social Democrats, we need to come with something innovative, creative, because this makes a big change in people's lives. And then, of course, climate. And we, Social Democrats, we need to fully integrate the green transition in our agenda. There is something, Anne, you refer, for which we still don't have an explanation, but this is worrying, is the fact that far right is being able to get support among young men. So this is worrying for the reasons you just said. So we really need to go deeper to understand exactly what is behind this, what is the malaise behind this. Now, on the second question, the upcoming European Commission. Well, yes, the next days are quite decisive to shape the next European Commission. Well, let me start by saying, this time around, the next 5 years will be extremely difficult mandate for the European institutions. First of all, because we have war for the first time in our continent. And we see particularly conservatives saying, because we have war, this is the top concern, and therefore the top priority should be defense. We have been discussing this among us, Social Democrats, and our position is the following. Of course, we need to fully support Ukraine. Of course, we need to properly address the tragedy in the Middle East. And yes, we need to build up our defense capacity, particularly if Trump wins. Let's hope this is not the case in the United States. Nevertheless, we Social Democrats, we progressives, we can never accept that because of this concern with security and defense, we would sacrifice other important priorities for us, which are to conduct the green transition with social fairness, which are to master the digital transformation, and most of all, to tackle social and regional inequalities. We can never accept. So this means what exactly? That the upcoming European Commission will have a very difficult task, which is to prepare the next European budget, so-called MFF, Multi-Annual Framework Financial Agreement, for these new challenges: defense, green transition, digital, social cohesion, and enlargement, all together. To tell you frankly, we still don't have the solutions for this. So this will be a big battle, also involving taxation. Well, I'm pleased that Stefan Levan, in his speech today, referred to the importance of taxation. So all in all, be prepared for a very difficult mandate in the European institutions. And the upcoming European Commission will have this in their hands. And right now, I must tell you that we are concerned, and Zita referred to this, that the principle we have put into practice 5 years ago by ensuring full parity in the European Commission is in the risk to be lost. So it is true that national prime ministers, they are supposed to suggest names. It is true that the elected President of the European Commission is supposed to negotiate with these prime ministers to come up with a full composition. But this is also true, let's recall this, that in the end, the new team of the commissioners will be submitted to a vote in the European Parliament. And so the European Parliament should make very clear that we need to have a competent, as much as possible, progressive and with equal equality, men and women, in order to be approved. So let's prepare for a very active September, because right now many things must be corrected, and you can be sure that our family is really being quite active about this.
Would you like to add something, or would you like to add?
Very briefly. Nataša, prvo hvala na komentaru. Mislim da je ovo bio dobar odgovor, precizan u mjeri u kojoj je to moguće u ovom trenutku kada je u pitanju Europska komisija. Ja bih dodao samo jednu rečenicu, da sam siguran da proširenje neće biti prioritet u ovoj narednoj komisiji, osim ako Rusija ne zaprijeti ovoj regiji, pošto izgleda je Rusija jedini katalizator, ubrzivač ovih procesa, kad god je neki problem, onda se procesi ubrzaju, a inače taj proces prilično stoji. Nadam se da se to neće desiti, makar po cijenu da naš proces priključenja bude spori. A što se tiče ovog pitanja, šta smo konkretno uradili za mlade? Ja mislim da je to sjajno pitanje, posebno u kontekstu političkog aktivizma. Moja sljedeća obaveza poslije Korčule je u političkoj školi Vijeća Europe, gdje sam neko ko je predavač zadnjih sigurno 15 godina i kroz koju je prošlo nekoliko stotina mladih ljudi iz politike. I zapravo to je oblast koja me interesuje i mislim da ste dobro locirali to da mladi ljudi ne žele ući u politiku i da imaju problem misleći da su sve politike i svi političari isti i da svi jednako stavljaju sebe kao prioritet, a ne dobrobit društva. Zbog toga sam ponosan na taj projekat i na sve one mlade ljude koji su prošli svih ovih godina kroz moj kabinet, pa neki od njih ostvarili i značajne političke karijere. Mislim da u tom smislu svi moramo biti otvoreni i okupljati mlade ljude oko sebe, prenijeti im znanje i ohrabriti ih da se bave politikom, jer je i više nego dovoljno onih koji im savjetuju da ne trebaju ulaziti u politiku, jer je to nešto prljavo, loše i ne mjesto za dobre ljude.
If I may add, very briefly, we had a few talks earlier and with Ms. Linda, and just to share with you, we hope in North Macedonia that we have a commissioner for enlargement who will show at least presence in the country, at least bring back the optimism of the citizens, which is killed totally, saying that the EU did not deliver what was necessary after what North Macedonia done before. So I don't know, in the past, the last visit of Commissioner Vaheli was for the COVID crisis. We were discussing the donation of vaccines, something like that. So he's fully absent. We need a proactive move from the EU itself. This is what citizens need. Otherwise, it's a very broad space for the current government to continue in the way that they have started, not to have any idea to proceed with the constitutional changes and everything which is needed to proceed with the EU integration process. They are worsening our position with Bulgaria. They are raising and opening already solved issue with Greece, completely unnecessary, which are clearly signs that they are not willing to do anything concerning the EU. But also, citizens told us during the elections, with the number of votes that we got, that they do not believe in this process of integration. So we need a sign from EU that they exist, they are here. We need to see something. We need to present that our belief in this process has a real reason. Otherwise, we cannot explain this to our citizens. And the second issue, I would like to share with you one very specific idea that we are developing in the past 2 months. And this is concerning addressing the needs and how to attract young people to the party, because there are none, actually. They are all members and activists, a huge number of students in their 20s and between 20s and 30s. They go with the far left party, Levica. And they're not offering anything except anti-establishment speech and messages. But on the other side, what we are offering, this is why we sat and discuss, are we offering something else? No, we are offering conventional politics in which they do not believe anymore. So this is why We are now we are doing an analysis. We are going to develop a pilot project in which we are going to transform the regional offices, the offices of the regional branches of the party all around the country, at least in the bigger cities, into centers for education in other fields other than politics. So we are identifying party members who are teachers in either foreign languages, have some knowledge in social media or artificial intelligence or something which is attractive for young people, twice a week to have lessons for free. We are doing this for two reasons. First, it is a social democratic value. We are offering this service to kids for their parents that cannot afford to pay. And second, we have a responsibility for the young people because we did not do anything with the educational system in the country. Not past government, not before. Every of the parties did not perform well. The reform was not implemented, and our universities are not on Shanghai lists, and we have very bad quality. We have terrible knowledge of any of the subjects. The level of pismenost is very bad. It's very bad. And we have to admit it. So this is why I think while we're in opposition, we have to find an innovative way to send these messages and to offer something specifically. And the feedback of the people who are willing to participate, I mean, the party members, teachers of English language, German language, have knowledge of mathematics, is very big. I really look forward to see how this is going to go. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Venko. Now, a short addition from Maria, and then Zita is asking, and Dasha are asking for the floor, and so we conclude our session.
And let's, very quickly, many thanks for being exactly so frank, because this is exactly the kind of talk we need to have. On enlargement, North Macedonia has all the reasons to complain. Nevertheless, let me underline that I think that the approach on enlargement is about to change. First of all, because the war and enlargement being perceived as a moral and political imperative with all the consequences. Secondly, because officially, as I told this morning, the doctrine on the way to conduct enlargement is changing. This means that this is no longer about negotiating the acquis communautaire for years and years, and then finally to decide on the session. This was the classical method. Now the services of the Commission, the European Commission, they are instructed to involve the candidate countries as much as possible in different networks. I mean, energy, digital, education, culture, social. And this to start now. So I think that our family needs to organize itself to shape this process. This is a process of gradual integration. I really like to underline this. Finally, on young people. Well, we had no time today to discuss about the digital transformation, AI, but this is appealing for young people because they feel that something important is happening. And basically what is happening is the following, is that over the last years, we have adopted new regulation to control the big American platforms on the digital. This is good, but this is not enough because we Europeans, we need to build our own way for the digital. And basically, I cannot now elaborate on this. This is about us regaining control of our data and us inventing our own AI algorithms. Otherwise, we'll lose control of our future. But perhaps this can be a topic for next Korčula School.
And now...
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Hazlett from the National Democratic Institute. Thank you very much for this panel, and thanks for the invitation from the Olof Palme Foundation, the CE Network for Gender Issues. Quick question or quick comment. Inspiring words from Anne about the internal party democracy in your party and looking at this 11 working groups. I think it's an inspiration for the region and beyond. Also, thank you very much, Maria, for speaking about affordable housing. I think this is also a crisis across the world that people are looking at, and I think it's something to take up as Social Democrats. One of the things that I think that we haven't discussed, and maybe it's in the back of our minds, when we do polling in the region, we ask the question to folks in the Western Balkans and the last one also in Slovakia, would you rather have a democracy or a good quality of life with no democracy? And people, by and large, say that they'd rather have a good life with little democracy. And this is concerning for us about democracy delivering for citizens. And I think we have to be mindful of clientelism, tenders, and who enriches themselves with tenders, also political impunity, building permits. These are the things that people are seeing as our democracies are working and trying, that people come into office and then leave with big houses or big cars or lots of resources, and they're concerned about this, and this is frustrating their approach. So I think finding out social democratic policies that also look at transparency, accountability, and responsibility, I think would also be an incredible winning measure, and this would, I believe, arguably push back against some of those that are trying to find other avenues for politics. Thanks.
Thank you very much for these interesting remarks. Thank you. Now, the floor.
Dasha.
So you.
Yeah. Yeah, just to try to give.
Borko is speaking.
Yeah, just to try to give a brief comment. Well, first of all, I think that young people are really, in our countries, intoxicated, and absolutely the fear is enormous, but much bigger problem than the fear is complete indifference to politics. And politics became like a really bad trend and a bad word, as many of us here witnessed. So the only competing tool and the thing that we all can do basically in our countries as a good playground for social democracy as an avant-garde is actually to give something completely new and something that is not brought to the too individual level, because it shows in several electoral cycluses that individuality, when it comes down to the little turf on the ground, is actually not working, and people are simply not interested. And that's why I like the comment from the gentleman from NDI. Basically, security instead of democracy and the rule of law is already happening in our countries. The problem is that the governments, even social democratic governments, are watching this trend and doing and saying nothing. And that's why we need to reinvent ourselves, and we need to come out with some new, and take it in a positive way, new myths. And the new myths are, for example, federalized Europe. Europe as an identity that is not endangering your own national identity. Share identities on a global level, not only individual identities, but national identities. And of course, justice. People need to see justice, because if they don't, that's why democracy doesn't work. That's why too many mafia people in our countries are driving new cars and have big houses. And reflection is not enough. This is where I disagree with Sasha Magazinovic. We can reflect for decades. We have so many reflections to face, and all of them are ugly. We need actions, not just talks, and actions that are really concrete, big talks, so-called big topics. If we go to the pit of activism, we will fail. And this is what the results of all these elections are showing. Thank you.
Zita.
Yes, yeah. So first of all, let's make a strong appeal for Kamala to win the next election. We are all here to support, so let's have a great for Kamala. So that's first. So I think it's really important. We have a good chance. Let's make it. So that's first. Second, of course, Maria spoke about the commissioners. And actually, I really would like you to be aware that we had an amazing other Scandinavian president some time ago, Poul Nyrup Rasmussen, and when we started this common candidate and we started how can we get or how can we reach parity, we told that each government should nominate a woman and a man, and the Commission president can easily select 50% women and 50% men. And if it is not the case, it's very difficult to do so. So I think we should really go back to the roots in a way and just to have the same ideas. That's first. Second, with my team, Anna and Larissa, who are also here in Korčula to learn and to study what's up. Of course, we have been in Santa Cruz, and Maria, you have been also in Santa Cruz with the Young European Socialist Summer Camp after 5 years. And honestly speaking, if we are not bringing in the discussion young on the board, then we are unable to understand them. This is a completely new world that they live. They are in their own bubble. And how to get into their bubble, this is very difficult. So that's first. Second, Orban has a megaphone called Megaphone. So that's a system who is creating fake news. And they are really getting proper messages for the young generation with fake news. So that's why when you see what was the result of the European election, a lot of young men, luckily more men than young women, voted for the extreme right wing. So that's why we really need to rethink, and that's why we really need to do a proper analysis. Luckily, Andras Pulai is here at the room who did a lot of analysis. How can we get back the vote? We need to change, we need to be easy, we need to use TikTok and all the tools which young people use. And we have to forget to be old-fashioned. We need to be trendy, I go further, sexy or whatever. But this is really what I think we really need, and they need to be here. They really would like to be part of it. So the way that PS Women is functioning on the board, Anna can tell you, we have a young European socialist representative, because when we do any policies, yes, watchdog is in PS Women. So that's what we young people, that's why we need young people in the local government, because then they can tell that they thought. And concerning housing, that was us, PS, who was very clear. We need a commissioner who deals with housing, but it has to come from our party family. That's another message that I would like to pass. Thank you, Maria, to remind me.
Oops, no.
Yeah, I'll be very brief.
No, you.
Can I?
Dasha, I invite you, as you are the last one, to take the floor.
I will. That's why I'll
conclude.
be brief. Let me throw a bone into the arena, and the bone is it apathy or anger among our electorate?
Is it?
Apathy or anger? Or both.
Yeah.
Because they're a bit angry at us. And they don't come to vote. That's the first thing. The second thing, very shortly, thank you, Sasha, for talking about your mentoring thing. Our experience, and I've been mentored. I will never forget my mentors. And Alexander and I talk about it all the time. And I have been mentoring. In view of the fact that our education systems are what they are, it's very important that we have role models in mentoring, that it is mentoring peer-to-peer. Yes. It's not teaching them nanophysics. It's teaching them the essentials why we have the politics and the ideology that we have. I've seen this with the foundations and FLEE, for instance, in Sarajevo. You have to start making them comfortable with the topic and making them comfortable with our party and knowing why we are here. They don't know. Those who have been born in 1990 whatever have no clue and not the past. And that is why we are constantly trying also to tell them, as you said, let's not throw the baby out of the bathwater.
Now, Venko would like to take the floor for 5 seconds.
Just briefly. Through prism of neuroscience, it's both apathy and anger because of disappointment.
Yeah.
And for socialists, the digitalization is something that we can, take as ours.
Now, I would.
Can we project the message?
Yes, I think we will conclude with the projection of the message, but I would like to say one thing apropos of mentoring. I think that one of the reasons I'm proud of it, the success of Korčula School is that we involve many organizations, parties, civil society, and the attitude is not, how can I say, I can use the word paternalistic attitude, but a relationship peer-to-peer. I think that this is the key of the success of Korčula School.
I had this idea that
Conclude with the message of the President of...
What an honor. Exclusively, we have a message from our dear President, Mr. Zoran Milanović. If you don't want to applaud, that's fine.
Sudionice i sudionici Korčulanske škole, poštovana gospođo Marinović, poštovana gospođo Šašić-Šilović, čestitam prije svega 30. godišnjicu djelovanja Centralno-istočne europske mreže za rodnu ravnopravnost. Vaš rad sad ima već ozbiljnu tradiciju, što samo govori kako borba za rodnu ravnopravnost nije jednokratna, već stalna potreba. Vaša škola utemeljena je u vremenu teškom i bremenitom za Hrvatsku, kada smo politički, diplomatski i vojno morali braniti neovisnost i teritorijalnu cjelovitost, a paralelno je trebalo graditi socijalnu infrastrukturu države i jačati njezinu unutarnju demokraciju. Dakle, trebalo je otvarati prostor slobode, jednakosti, uključivosti i ravnopravnosti. Svoje mjesto u tome, s posebnim naglaskom na prava i položaj žena, imala je i Centralno-istočna europska mreža za rodnu ravnopravnost, a ima ga i danas. Teme koje su bile važne prije 30 godina i danas dominiraju javnim i političkim prostorom, jer briga o ljudskim pravima nema istek roka valjanosti. Uvijek sam smatrao kako ravnopravnost nema alternativu i da je sve ono što je u zakonima zapisano doista mora zaživjeti i postati stvarnom, a ne samo pravnom stečevinom našeg društva. Bio sam i bit ću na strani slobode i prava na izbor, a vama želim da ustrajete u širenju prostora za suradnju i dijalog. Želim vam puno uspjeha u daljnjem radu, želim vam uspjeh i rad na Korčulanskoj školi. Cilj nam je zajednički stvarati uvjete za punu političku, ekonomsku i građansku ravnopravnost bez stereotipa i bez prepreka.
So we thank President Milanović, and we conclude this session with his words. Thank you.